Oh, how easy it would be to leave. All worries then would flee. No pain, no tears. I would finally be free. But is that what I need to plant that seed? Leaving a mess, having my loved ones in such distress. No, I can't. So I continue to chant that I gotta keep going. Yes, the future is unknowing, but I gotta keep going. I wrote that in January of 2019. I was in high school, getting ready for college, and I was at a point where I did not want to keep going. But I knew that my only option was to keep going. So I kept saying, I gotta keep going. And I think that is where the seed was planted for this vision of gotta keep going. That's where it all started. I felt so alone, and I knew that I never wanted someone to feel what I felt in that moment. Before we get started, I just want to say that we will be touching on tough topics in this conversation. Nothing explicit, nothing graphic, but it could be triggering. So if you want to take a break, if you want to step away and come back, just know that I'm here when you're ready. Welcome to Gotta Keep Going, a space for mental health where every day is a sign of faith. I'm CharNae, and I'm so glad you're here. This episode is called the semicolon season. So, the semicolon season to me means not being strong and not being this inspirational being, but it's just being at a point where you are at your wits' end. You don't know how to keep going, but you believe, even if it's the size of a mustard seed, that tomorrow could be better, that there's a future, and you made that decision to keep going. And you know that it was an active decision. I also believe that the semicolon season is in a moment where I love God, I trust God, I believe in God, but I'm still struggling. And I think that those two can coincide. It's a season where I don't have the answers, but I'm still choosing to keep going, sight unseen. I want to let you know I don't have it all figured out. I don't have all the answers. Trust me, I wish I did. But I also know what it feels like to feel alone in the middle of the season that you possibly could be in. So if that's you right now, just know you're not alone. I'm here for you. You're not failing, and I'm so glad you're here. So wherever you are, however you're listening, let's get into it. So let's start with where all of this is coming from. Where did my mental health journey start with? And I like to say that it started in high school. I know that there were signs of anxiety for me in middle school. High school is where I genuinely saw the shift. I went from the kid that would be the first one to raise her hand, volunteer to go first, to speak up. Like, I wanted to be seen, I wanted to be heard. I was in theater, I was in choir, I was in dance. Like, anytime it was an opportunity for me to be on stage, that was my moment. Like, that was my time to shine. And then I went to a place where I did not want to be seen. I just wanted to disappear. My thoughts were outrageous. Like, the anxiety was so bad, but I don't think I knew it was anxiety at the time because there weren't conversations about mental health, and it was something that I just felt so alone and bad about. And it wasn't something that like me and my friends would talk about, so I just felt like this was a only me situation. And I remember having to go start seeing a counselor, but I don't believe the counselors at school were properly equipped to handle mental illness. And I'm sure that this has changed now. I think there are a lot of certifications you need to have now. However, back then, my counselor was annoyed with me. And I think that started my genuine fear with mental health. I remember going in there one day, crying, sobbing, and feeling like I can't do this. And she looked up and she was like, ugh, what is it again? What is it today, CharNae? And I remember that feeling being like, oh, I'm never speaking up again. No one cares. Like, no one genuinely cares if I'm here or not. And that was the hardest moment because I felt like I was too much. Like, I genuinely felt like I was too much to be here in this world. And I decided, I was like, "Yup, y'all don't have to worry about me ever again, okay? Okay, miss, she knows her name. You won't have to worry about me, okay? I won't be a problem." And I remember feeling like the same way with my friends. Like, I would talk to them about stuff and they'd be like, oh, sorry, I don't want to hear this. I'd be like, oh, no, dang, okay. And then even like with my parents, it'd be like, depression's not a thing, girl. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you had like my home telling me that, you had the school telling me that, you had my friends telling me that. So I was just like, yeah, there's no place for me. There is no place for me. And I remember that day where I was like, yeah, y'all don't have to worry about me again. Like, don't worry about me. And later in that day, I remember feeling the love of God. Like, I felt wrapped in his love. Like, I felt like there was a future and I couldn't see it, but it was just a unknowing. And it was such a polar opposite because I genuinely went from I don't want to be here to God has a plan for me in a second. And that's how I'm like, you can't tell me God isn't real because how would I feel love and warmth in that way? How could I feel like I am enough? And I think that was just the start of me realizing, okay, if I give it to God, he might it's not going to be this revelation of like I'm cured, but that's where the belonging is. That's where the love is. That's where the peace is. It's with the Lord. I couldn't look to external factors, external figures to get that. Now, do I still? Yes. Am I still working on that? Yes. But I have that foundation, which is very important. So I had that moment in high school where I was like, hey, I'm not going to be here anymore. JK, I'm still here. Right? Okay. So then we fast forward to college. And college is like, okay, this is a new chapter. High school was trash. I hated high school. So college has to be it for me. Like college, that's my jam. Like I'm gonna take this by storm. That did not happen. Well, it did towards the end, which we can talk about in a different episode, but um it was not the case. I got to college. None of my friends were going to the colleges that I was going to, the illustrious Morgan State University. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm alone. And then I got there, I didn't have a roommate. I was like, oh, okay. So every time I talk to somebody about doing something, they're like, oh, me and my roommate, oh, me and my roommate, oh, me and my roommate. Like everyone's roommate was their built in best friend. And here I was on campus, no friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm alone again. And I think that was the start of just deep, deep, deeper depression where I was just like, no, I could barely get up for classes. I could barely be around people. Like I was a kid that sat front row, but that was because I didn't want to see anyone. Like I didn't want to see anyone next to me. I didn't want to see anyone like around me. Like that was my isolation. So instead of sitting in the back, I sat right in the front. So it was just me and the professor. That was it because I couldn't do much more. And so everyone was enjoying college. They were free. And mind you, I was kind of raised a bit strict. So this was my time to be free. And all I was in that dorm. Granted, I was in a relationship at the time, so I think that also made it way harder because I was like, oh, here's my escape. My ride's coming. Like, I was gone. Like, that was my thing. I was like, all right, well, I don't have any friends here, so I'm gonna leave. So it was nothing really to force me to like be a part of things. And so I was like, I think I need help. And obviously that counselor from high school, she was nowhere to be found. And my first result was like, okay, let me go see the counseling at Morgan because they said that there's people here. So I started seeing the counselor at Morgan. So I went from counselor at high school, counselor at college. And I want to say it was an okay experience. That's when I actually got diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. I was like, ooh, like they make you take a test and my levels was off the chart. And she's looking at me like, ooh, and I'm looking at her like, ooh, like it was just we both didn't know what to do. We both didn't know what to say. And again, we really need people in the space that genuinely want to help people. I think she did a great job for her resources that she had at the time. I will say though, she put me in group therapy. I went to regular therapy and then she put me in group therapy. And I was like, girl, I have severe social anxiety. Why are you putting me in group therapy? That is not what I signed up for. Like, shouldn't we do baby steps? And I think also a thing that strayed me away from counseling, I realized I couldn't be truthful. And I was like, if I talk about the fact that I don't want to be here, I end up in grippy socks. Like, no, seriously, she almost called the people at me. And I was scrambling, like, no, 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 I'm not going to do anything. But I think there has to be more conversation about the fact that you could not want to be here, but still keep going. Unless you are in that state of harm, like, I'm about to do it. Like, I think there's no way to get around healing from it if you don't talk about it. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that sometimes I don't want to be here because that's just the truth. That's just the reality. Now, does that mean I'm just going to go drive myself off a cliff right now? No, but there's something inside of me that needs a lot of healing and a lot of attention. And to feel like I'm not alone, to have other people that can relate and be like, hey, girl, I don't want to be here either, but I'm here. I'm like, hey, you're here. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're here. Let's connect. Let's keep each other accountable and try to figure out how we can want to be here. So that was my college experience with counseling. And then midway into college, I was like, hey, I need to get me something outside of y'all. Because when she almost called the people on me, I was like, I'm not safe here. I'm not growing. And so I finally found counseling outside of an institution. I found a private practice and I am still with my therapist to this day. Like, she's amazing. She tells me like it is. We like Kiki. She's also a black woman. Like, it's great. And when I say Kiki, like, she's not my friend. Like, there are boundaries. It's very important that you have boundaries with your healthcare provider. Okay. They're not your homegirl. They're not your friend. They're supposed to tell you and call you out with your stuff. You cannot grow if they're your friend and they're scared to tell you the truth, okay? All right. That was just a little disclaimer, but moving on. So I'm currently in therapy. I don't know when I'll ever be out of therapy because honestly, therapy can be a lifelong thing, in my opinion. Like, I think it's more about my therapist always says she's here to make the day to day easier, to give me mechanisms to get through daily struggles because we're always going to have struggles, okay? Like right now, it's just me trying to figure out myself post grad, like working full time, but that's without adding possibly getting married, having kids, like going through deaths. Like, I think we always should be in therapy, but that's just me. I'm a little mentally ill, but I make it cute. So I want to take a moment and go back to that moment where I was like, hey, y'all, I'm not going to be here anymore. So I want to talk about the faith that was inside of that. In that moment, all I felt was weak. I did not think that that was a moment of strength. I was like, I'm weak. Like, even to this day, sometimes I feel like just a weak girl, but that is not true. I am rebuking that. But there was faith in saying, hey, I believe that tomorrow can be better. Hey, I believe there's something out there. There's purpose for me. I believe that this is not my last day. And that is faith. That is faith in works because there's no way that me deciding that there's something better isn't an act of faith. You can't tell me it's not. That's me saying, I believe. Like, that is saying, I believe. But I don't think it stops in that moment of saying, I believe that tomorrow can be better. Because what? Faith without works is dead. So I can have that faith that I got to keep going. But what am I going to do to make sure that I keep going? Is that going to therapy? Is that me working out? Is that me starting medication? Is that me going to group therapy? Is that me calling a friend? Discovering the different types of therapy that there are. What is that work? Because faith without works is dead. God gives us the tools. He gives us the tools, but we also have to implement them. And I was raised in a generation of pray it away. You feel depressed? You better pray that depression away. Something, there's some demons in you. And I don't want to hear it's some demons in you, okay? And maybe that's where some of us contradict, but I don't want to say it's a demons in me. Uh because even if it is, I think that causes a person to demonize themselves. And that is a tricky route to go down. We don't want people feeling like we are demonized. We don't want people feeling like there's something wrong with us because you may be struggling, but there is nothing wrong with you. You might be depressed, but there is nothing wrong with you. You might be anxious, but there is nothing wrong with you. You might be bipolar, but there is nothing wrong with you. Okay? You need help. And we are here as people. Other people are here so we can help one another. That is the reason for it all. That's the reason we're here. And if we were all just perfectly fine, all of our screws together, we'd be robots. I'm growing to learn that there is a space for mental health and faith to coincide, like they go together. And I was in church the other day, and the sermon was, "When's the last time you talked to the doctor?" And I was just sitting on it, and I was just like, wow. Because when we talk about mental health, it's health, right? Health is connected with the doctor, okay? And who is our main doctor? Who is our original doctor? Who made us? Like, who do we see for all our problems? The Lord. And so, what does a doctor do? Let's break it down. A doctor sees you, they hear your concerns, they might prescribe you something, they might give you a little plan, like a little health plan. They might refer you to another doctor that's different from them that specializes in something different. So when we look at the Lord, first, give your words to the Lord. The Lord's going to hear you out. And he might be like, hey, you need these people in your life. And he might send people in your life. Hey, you might need to seek some help. And so you might go to therapy or find some other ways to get some help. And then he might be like, hey, you might need some medication. Not that I'm not the healer, because I am the healer. I'm providing you with the resource of medication. So you see how all of those is connected. And I'll preface this: I am not certified in anything, but this is just me as a person living through it, and this is how I see it. So I need to start going to the main doctor first, and then see how that all falls into play. Because I've tried it all, and guess what? He's the creator of all. So didn't he create all those things? Oh, okay. We're gonna move forward. I think sometimes when we talk about mental health in the faith space, it can get a little tricky because you kind of feel like you're not supposed to feel that way, that it's not okay to feel that way, especially feeling like you don't want to be here because the act of that is a sin. So you feel like if I even think about that, I'm sinning. However, there's biblical evidence that we're not alone, that there was other proof of people feeling like they didn't want to be here. And what they do, they gave it to the Lord. Starting, we can go back to First King 19. First King 19. I'm going to read a couple verses, but feel free to go and read the whole chapter if you have some time. Verse 3. Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. When he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there, while he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Lord, he said. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. All at once, an angel touched him and said, get up and eat. He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. So he got up and ate and drank. Striking by that food, he traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. There he went into the cave and spent the night. So, when reading those scriptures and when I took some time to meditate on those scriptures, it made me think of a couple of things. One, about giving our worries to the Lord. Elijah was honest. Honesty is important. He was honest with the Lord and said, I don't want this. Take my life. And I think that is something that a lot of us feel and a lot of us don't admit to relating to. We don't admit that we've had moments where I'm like, Lord, I can't do this anymore. You're going to have to take me. This is too much. And I think that is the start to healing, is being honest with the Lord and honest with yourself. And another thing that I realized when reflecting on this passage is that the Lord did a couple things. He fed him and he let him rest and he checked back in. And a lot of the time we think that we need to be on go, go, go mode. Like, okay, I'm depressed, but like, let me do this and that. Let me like try to avoid like, no, he knew he needed rest and he needed fuel. He told him, you have a long journey ahead. And I think that's for a lot of us. We need to rest and feed ourselves, whether that is with the right food or just biblically. And I think there's a long journey ahead. And the Lord knows that we do need rest. Like, rest is biblical, rest is sacred. And we live in hustle culture where it's like, you need to be on go. We need to be doing, like, no, it's okay to rest because if you feel like you don't want to be here, you need to take a second and rest, reflect, rejuvenate. Don't just jump into the next day. I think we go through seasons of rest, and that was a moment for Elijah where he needed to rest, but he gave it to God. He talked to the doctor. I wanted to bring it full circle. Okay, bring it back around. Why GKG? Why I gotta keep going? And the vision that I have for God to keep going is genuinely creating a space where we can be honest about our mental health, we can be honest about our struggles, and we can also do that with faith. We can do that within the Lord, and we can cast our worries upon Him and also be a community and support each other. And whether that's someone's feeling away one day and you send them the scripture or you pray for them, or maybe you send them a resource, maybe you send them an article that's helpful, or you send them a therapy recommendation. You got to be really close for someone to do that, though. Don't just do that to a random person. But I guess I'm just saying that I want there to be a community where we can put faith and mental health together, because I think they coincide. I think they go together. I'm gonna make them go together with GKG. We've got to keep going. That's my vision. That's what the Lord gave me. So this is me being faithful, because I tried to start this a couple of times, like in 2021. Tried to start it in 2023, 2025. Now we're in 2026, and it's just like, it's so funny how you can't shake a calling. Like, you can try to move on to the next day, but it's going to come up in just a sign. It's going to come up in your head. It's going to come up in your spirit somehow. And so I'm finally being obedient. And I think the only thing that was stopping me was my fear of being perceived and my fear of no one caring, no one listening. And I have to be okay with the fact that I can do a million of these videos and there might be just one listener. But if that one listener's life is changed or they feel less alone, that's all that matters. I want people to feel less alone. That is the mission. That's it. So that's why I'm starting Gotta Keep Going. To wrap things up, the semicolon season is a moment where you feel like giving up, but you don't. You kept going. And I want you to know that there is a reason you are here. There's a reason that there is breath in your lungs. Your story is not over. God is not done with you yet. You're not done with you yet. There is so much potential inside of you. I know you have dreams. I know you have ambitions. Even in your depression, even in that despair, even if in that want of not being here, two things can coincide at the same time. You have wants, you have drives, you have ambition. And if you don't, I want you to look within you and find those, because there is a reason to keep going. And I'm telling you, I'm so glad that you kept going, whether you made that choice actively or not. You are a blessing. I'm glad I kept going, and I'm glad you kept going. I will let you know that I did start a Discord community for Gotta Keep Going. In this community, it's for mental health check-ins. You can share scriptures, you can share sermons, you can talk about any certain disorders that you have. I don't like saying disorders. We can talk about anything that you're struggling with, whether it diagnoses, whether it's depression, anxiety, bipolar, borderline. And if you have something that you have and you want me to create a channel for it, I'll do that. So I just want to create a space where we can feel open to support one another, and hopefully later down the line have some events, some Bible studies, and see how Gotta Keep Going can grow. So if you made it to the end, I'm so glad that you did. I thank you for hearing me out, hearing my story. I'm just a little girl. No, I repeat that, but I'm just a girl still. Like, I am a girl with a mic, and I know we're tired of people with mics, but I have to rebuke that thought of not being enough or not having anything worth saying, because I do have something worth saying, and this episode was proof of it. So thank you for joining, and I hope you tune in with us next time. This has Gotta Keep Going.